What's up, Tailgaters? You're in the booth with Tailgate Nate. Today, the road to predict all 136 FBS level college football teams this summer now takes a trip to Bloomington, Indiana, where the surprise out of the Big Ten Conference last year in the Indiana Hoosiers are going to look to run it back to the college football playoff again in 2025. My name is Nate Pope, otherwise known as Tailgate Nate. Thank you so much for clicking on this video and helping to support the channel. If you would like to support the channel even further, then please do what it says right below me. Hit that subscribe button, and hey, while you're at it, you might as well ring the bell, because turning notifications on ensures you that you aren't going to miss an upload during prediction season, especially not of your favorite team. I am a sports media graduate delving into the professional world of sports media, and if you want to see all the cool stuff I get to do in the industry, as well as get updates on what goes on this very YouTube channel, then please go ahead and hit me with a follow on Twitter or X, whatever you prefer to call it, and Instagram. It's at tailgate829. Even feel free to email me, tailgate829@gmail.com. I want to thank you all so much for supporting me in the channel by interacting with me in the channel, however you may be doing so. With all of that said and done and out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about the Indiana Hoosiers and your head coach, Curt Cignetti. He's won everywhere he's gone. Google him. He's pretty darn good. Again, this is an Indiana team that made a run all the way to the college football playoff last year. They were one of the surprises, the many surprises that we saw in 2024, and they're going to look to surprise again after there are still some people counting them out here in 2025. How do we do preview predictions here on the channel? Well, we are first going to go through a roster overview in which the offense is going to be over here, the defense is going to be over here, and at the end of the video, we'll look through the Indiana football schedule. I'll give it a game-by-game preview and prediction, and this video overall is going to tell you what I think about the Hoosiers here in 2025. Before we get started, some numbers right down below me. Returning production numbers are, according to ESPN, they do include transfers up to a certain percentage. Not sure what the exact formula is, but they do include portal additions in some way, shape, or form. And then your recruiting and transfer portal class ranks are according to 24/7 Sports, bringing in a pretty good transfer portal class, just as Indiana did last year. Second-year head coach in Curt Cignetti has still got a really good group this year. But let's start out with the offense. Your offensive coordinator is Mike Shanahan, and while Curtis Rourke is going to be leaving this team, the former Ohio Bobcat was sensational as the Hoosier quarterback last season. 3,042 yards, 29 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions on around 70% completion percentage, just shy of that mark. Really good stuff. And Curtis Rourke is just going to end up being a very hard guy to replace here. He was a very good player for you. True pocket presence guy, not someone that got outside of the pocket and ran a whole lot, but improvised when he had to. Did have a couple of rushing touchdowns, but sack yardage included at the bottom of that rushing total. You do get a guy, though, that I absolutely adore, and I think Curt Cignetti found a gem in Fernando Mendoza. Coming over from Cal, he had 4,004 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions on around 68.7 completion percentage. So apart from the touchdown to interception ratio, pretty similar numbers to what Curtis Rourke put up last season. I think his full potential is going to be unleashed with this Mike Shanahan offense, especially as Curt Cignetti is your head coach. This is a guy that doesn't run a ton, but does have a pair of rushing touchdowns in each of his 2 seasons at Cal. So I think you're going to get a little bit more of a dual threat ability than what you got with Curtis Rourke, which gives, again, Mike Shanahan an extra wrench to throw into this offense, but it's not going to be by much. Another mainly true pocket presence quarterback has some elite weapons surrounding him, and I think with this offense, we are really going to see what Fernando Mendoza can do. I think this is a home run transfer hit. I really like Fernando Mendoza, and I love his fit for this Indiana program. We'll talk about the wide receivers in a minute, because there are a lot of good ones here, but your top 2 leading rushers do exit this program from a season ago. That was going to be the likes of Tyson Lawton, who is second, and Justice Ellison, your top rusher, both of them double digits in the touchdown figures last season. But you are getting Kalon Black coming back. He was the 3rd leading rusher for you last year, 251 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then a couple transfers are going to be coming in here as well. Roman Hemby is coming over from Maryland, and then Lee Beebe is going to be coming over into this program as well. He is coming over from UAB, where he had another pretty darn good season there with the UAB Blazers. Roman Hemby has been a solid piece for the Terrapins, including being a running back that can do it all. To use baseball terminology, he's a five-tool player. He can run the ball, he can pass protect, come up and chip a defensive lineman, give Fernando Mendoza an extra second, and he can catch passes out of the backfield. So I guess a three-tool player, you could call him right there. He is a really, really good player. Kalon Black will probably lead this team in rushing, but Hemby and BB will be very good pieces out of that backfield. This wide receiver core is absolutely elite. Pretty much everybody comes back here. Elijah Surratt will be back, 957 yards and 8 touchdowns, and then Omar Cooper, 594 yards and 7 touchdowns last season. Those two guys are absolutely phenomenal. You're also going to be getting back EJ Williams, who is going to figure to play a much bigger piece than he did last season. Only 2 catches for 49 yards. I think he is going to end up being a pretty good talent. And then you do have some transfers and pretty talented freshmen coming in here as well. Mekhi Jackson is a transfer coming in, but LeBron Bond is a very highly thought of freshman that is going to be entering this program. The 4th highest ranked recruit that they brought in here, only a 3-star player, so how highly thought of can he be? I hear what some of you out there may be saying, but I think Indiana got themselves a pretty darn good freshman there who could play a pretty sizable role for this program. Otherwise, though, this is the wide receiver core that is really, really good. The tight end room is going to be a little bit rebuilt. You had Zach Horton last year, also a guy by the name of Sam West. I do not believe either of those guys are back for this team this year. So a new duo in the tight end room. You're going to have Holden Stays, who is coming over from Tennessee for receiving touchdowns a couple years ago in 2023. And then Riley Nowakowski is going to be coming in to this program to help play tight end for you. On the offensive line, though, you are going to be losing some really good key pieces. I think 2 or 3 starters, maybe even a little bit more than that, are gone off of this offensive line. But I do think your offensive line, still going to be really, really good, and it could even improve this season because you have a ton of high-impact players coming in through the transfer portal. Pat Coogan was at Notre Dame last year. He's going to transfer into play center. Amazing. You have Khalil Benson that's going to be coming over to this program. He's going to slot into the right guard role. He was at Colorado. Great. You're also going to have Zen Mikulski. He was at Ohio State last year and did get some good playing time with the Buckeyes. Great. Again, from your center on through the right side, left guard, left tackle, I think it'll end up being some pretty familiar faces for you. But with those 3 transfers coming in, you bulk up the offensive front. And again, Indiana, I think Fernando Mendoza going to fit seamlessly. You got another pretty darn good offensive unit here for Mike Shanahan. Now let's talk about the defense. Your defensive coordinator is Bryant Hangs. And look, to make the conversation around this defense pretty darn simple, the depth pieces are pretty much, well, okay, not pretty much all gone, but there are a ton of depth pieces that are going to leave in every single level of this defense. But the really, really good news is that pretty much all of your heavy hitters, your best defensive players, are going to be coming back here to this team. Let me show you what I mean. James Carpenter and CJ West, as we start with the defensive line. 2 pretty solid players for you last year. Carpenter had 6 sacks. That was one of the highest marks on the team, 2nd highest as a matter of fact. And then again, you're also going to be losing CJ West, a very good presence on the interior of this defensive line from last season. Well, you are going to be getting your sack leader, Mikhail Kamara. He is back, 10 sacks last year, while just being shy of a top 5 tackler. He was number 6 with 47 tackles. And again, those 10 sacks last season, even more tackles for loss when you crunch out all of the numbers, and he is going to come back with some amazing portal guys, as well as, again, just some other really good depth pieces. But as far as the portal guys go, you got CJ West from Kent State last year. How about getting Kent State's best and Stephen Daly, however you pronounce the first name? He was really, really good during his time with the Golden Flashes and will be here with the Indiana Hoosiers. Jose Wheeler is going to be transferring into this program as well. He's coming over from Western Kentucky, a former community college JUCO player that's going to end up being pretty good. Lots of other good depth pieces. again, I think Indiana, again, led by Mikhail Kamara, going to have a pretty stout defensive front. As far as the linebacking unit goes, hey, Jalen Walker is going to be gone. Jalen Walker, a very vital piece for this defense last year. Second leading tackler, 82 tackles, had a couple sacks last year. Also, 2 picks, not too shabby of a year for Jalen Walker. He's leaving the linebacking duo, but your lead tackler and what some might consider your best defensive player in Aiden Fisher is coming back. 118 tackles, a sack and a half, go along with 4 passes defended out of the linebacker position last year. A good group is going to be surrounding him as well. Again, just lots of good talent, lots of good experienced talent that's going to end up being led right there by Aiden Fisher. Now, secondary. Sean Asbury is out of eligibility. One of their best secondary players last year. 69 tackles, a sack and a half, 4 pass defended, and did have an interception last season. Well, guess what? Your number 4, your number 5 leading tackler, and your top 2 interception leaders from last season, D'Angelo Pons and Amari Farrell, are both coming back to lead this secondary. Pons had 55 tackles, 9 pass defended, and 3 interceptions last season. Farrell was the ball hawk. 49 tackles, did have a sack and a half off the edge, 1 pass defended, and 4 interceptions last season. You go back to D'Angelo Pons, he had a pick 6 last year. So look, man, some really, really good players out of that secondary coming back. And then you got a lot of transfers to boot, right? Lewis Moore, he's going to be transferring in. Devin Boykin will be coming in. Rylan Gandy, and then a really good freshman in Byron Baldwin Jr. that, again, could play a fairly significant role right there. You also do have Amarian Knighton that will be coming in through the portal as well. So, even though a lot of there were a lot of really good starters here on this team. Arguably their best, not arguably to me, their best defensive lineman comes back in Mikhail Kamara. I think their best linebacker comes back in Aiden Fisher. You have, again, 2 of your better secondary players coming back from last season. And then when you talk about the special teams room, you are going to get Radicic, that's back to kick. Mitch McCarthy is going to be transferring in. We got to show love to the kickers. Hey, they are people too, after all. But look, man, again, I think they hit it out of the park with Fernando Mendoza. You still got some really good depth and lots of elite pieces return offensively and defensively. Top 2 wide receivers are back. I think at the very least, your best defensive player in every single level is coming back, even if you don't agree with that secondary. Then, well, you still got 2 really good pieces in Pons and Farrell returning for you. Lots of transfers to add depth to this team. Friends, Indiana football is not going anywhere this season, but how's their schedule look? Well, why don't you go ahead and find out for yourself, because that is the Indiana 2025 football schedule. But before we dive on into it, just some numbers down below that I want all of you to be aware of. They are courtesy of FanDuel. No, I'm not telling you to go place your money on any of these odds. Please be responsible with your own money. Do what you want with your money. They're just some good context numbers to sort of see how good the odds makers think Indiana is going to be this season. And honestly, I do not think these odds do it justice one bit. Indiana is plus 4,900 to win the Big Ten Conference. Pulling on my notes here right quick because that is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9th best odds to win the conference. They're behind teams like Nebraska, Iowa, USC, Illinois to win the Big Ten, even after the season they had last year, and then plus 18,000 odds to win the national championship. They're in the 20s or 30s in that ranks. The odds makers will tell you there's a lot that's got to happen for Indiana to win the national championship, even go win the Big Ten this year. But like I just told you, I think they got a lot of really good talent. They have a dynamite winning head coach in Curt Cignetti, and their schedule, well, it is more tricky than it was last season, isn't it? However, the non-conference schedule just simply is not. Old Dominion, Kennesaw State, Indiana State. You know what? Let's go through the exercise right now. Let's name one player on each team, but Indiana is going to go ahead and win all 3 of these games here, right? So, for the Old Dominion Monarchs, you want someone that can probably maybe give you trouble? Well, there are some good transfers coming into that wide receiver room. Ja'Cory Thomas, Trey Brown, TJ Johnson. Indiana gonna win that one. All right, Kennesaw State. Let's move on from the Monarchs into the Owls. Hey, one of the newest teams to the FBS ranks, by the way. They're going to have a former Indiana Hoosier, Dexter Williams, at quarterback. Yeah, not gonna matter. Kennesaw State gonna win that one. I meant Indiana. My apologies. Not Kennesaw State. Indiana is going to be winning that game against the Owls. And then an in state team, an FCS opponent in the Indiana State Sycamores. Hey, they're going to have quarterback Elijah Owens coming back this year. Again, though, not really going to matter at all. Indiana wins the first three games of the season. Apology, speech is hard sometimes, okay? 1, 2, 3. Indiana starts off 3-0. They sweep the non-conference slate. But right away, bam, look at these first three games in the Big Ten Conference. You have to face an Illinois team, and people might say, okay, what's the big deal? It's Illinois. Guys, this is an Illini team that I like a ton this college football season. A ton. I think Illinois is going to be really, really good. Luke Altmaier, if there were any questions about him at the back position, yeah, he answered them last season. You're going to have some really good running backs in that stable, some pretty darn solid wide receivers with Hudson Clement and Justin Bowick, especially coming in through the transfer portal. But it's this defense, man. Sack leader Gabe Jackus is coming back. You have talent all over that defensive front coming in through the portal. Lots of phenomenal secondary pieces come back, and I think Illinois is going to be able to handle what Indiana throws at them. But this one being at home, again, a very, very big test here. I don't think the Illini are going to have all of the offensive pieces needed to keep up with what Indiana has here, especially knowing that, look, you do have some really good wide receiver pieces coming back, Elijah Surratt being the biggest one. And I just think Fernando Mendoza is that guy. Indiana will win this game at home. They start out 4-0, but this one is going to be a real big struggle. And I think Illinois might kind of beat the crap out of Indiana a little bit. I think Indiana wins on the scoreboard, but this tough battle, I think, will pay its dividends going on the road to play in Iowa City. Mark Gronowski is in at quarterback, an FCS champion with the South Dakota State Jackrabbits. He brings a ton of winning culture and experience to this Iowa team. The weapons around him, they're okay. Wide receiver room is going to be okay, but the offensive line is going to be good. Tight end room should be solid. Running back room, even without Caleb Johnson, probably won't be as good, but should still be pretty solid. But this Iowa defense in Kinnick on a Saturday, hopefully a Saturday night here in this game, I think Indiana's going to drop this one on the road. Iowa at Kinnick, never count them out, man. And look, I think Illinois is going to have a really good defense, but Indiana gets that one at home. If they had it on the road in Champaign, I would probably think a little differently about that contest because Illinois is a team I like a lot. But for this Iowa team, playing at home in Kinnick is huge. The defense is going to be stupidly physical, and I do think they get the upset win against the Indiana Hoosiers. On the road against Oregon after a bye week. Hey, you really are going to need that bye week, though, when you try to prepare for the Ducks in Autzen. Same kind of thing with Iowa. Just going to be a really tough environment, but even if you think Indiana's going to get past Iowa in the road environment, what could be a night game road environment, this is an Oregon team that is an entirely different beast. They are bigger, they are better, they are more physical, they are more talented. Dante Moore has waited his turn. He's going to be a really good quarterback for him. Yeah, Evan Stewart might be out for most of the season. Oregon's still going to have way too much talent here in this one for me. I think they get past the Indiana Hoosiers, and Indiana through the first 6 games is 4-2. However, you do get to come back home on a 2-game losing streak. You're going to play the Michigan State Spartans, and I think you're going to be able to get this one done. Now, Michigan State is going to be returning Aiden Childs. I think he takes a big step forward this year under the direction of Jonathan Smith at head coach. You're bringing in a lot of really good pieces through the transfer portal, especially Omari Kelly at the wide receiver position. You're even going to have a new leading rusher that comes in through the portal. Lots of good offensive line pieces. The defense returns some really good players as well as adds it up through the transfer portal. Don't be surprised if Michigan State changes it around from last season where they were this close to getting into a bowl game. This year they could definitely do it, but I don't think they're getting past the Hoosiers on the road. Give me Curt Cignetti and Indiana to win that one. Nico Iamaleava, he is now with the UCLA Bruins after the whole debacle that happened at Tennessee. It was originally going to be Joey Aguilar, the App State transfer, but now he is at Tennessee to replace Nico. Nico is here with UCLA, and I do think Nico Iamaleava is a lot better of a quarterback than what Joey Aguilar is. And UCLA, I mean, look, they're going to have some fairly solid pieces around them, but I could just see it being another struggling year for this Bruins team. Let's look at some of those pieces, though. Again, Nico Iamaleava is at quarterback. You remember Jalen Berger? Yeah, he is going to be back there at running back. You have some okay-ish wide receiver pieces. Mikey Matthews, the transfer, might be your best one. The defensive backfield in the secondary is going to get an entire retool through the transfer portal. And UCLA was pretty darn competitive at points throughout their first season in the Big Ten Conference. This is another team that I could see making a jump this season, but I think Michigan State making that jump is more likely than UCLA, and therefore I had Indiana beating Michigan State. I think Indiana's going to beat UCLA here in this one. I also do believe that Indiana's going to go on the road and beat the Maryland Terrapins. I think Maryland could really, really struggle this season. They are losing a ton of pieces through the transfer portal to a ton of really, really talented teams. And after going 4-8 last season, this is a team that overall, look, I don't think they got some bad players through the transfer portal. I think they're going to do enough to sort of maintain production value here. I just don't think it's going to lead to anything spectacular. Maryland could push for a spot in a bowl game, but I see that as fairly unlikely. I think Indiana will beat the Terps, and they will move on here to Happy Valley and Penn State. Yeah, sorry, you're not going to win this one on the road in Happy Valley. No way, Jose. You are returning Drew Aller, Nick Singleton, Katron Allen, a ton of downfield threats, including Trevor Pena, Devontae Ross, and Kyron Hudson. All three of those guys enter through the portal, probably going to be your three leading receivers this year. Penn State lost Abdul Carter and Kobe King. So what? They're still going to be one of the best units in the country, now led by the best defensive coordinator in the country in Jim Knowles. Yeah, Indiana not going on the road and beating the Penn State Nittany Lions. However, I do think they win out the rest of the way. Luke Fickell trying to figure it out at Wisconsin. I think they're going to need to win something big this year to keep Badger fans hopeful and to keep that energy here with Luke Fickell. It will not be this one, though, on the road. Indiana will beat Wisconsin. And then, quite simply, they're going to be one of the worst teams, if not the worst team in the conference this year. Still trying to rebuild and retool after that Big Ten championship year. Indiana is going to beat their in state conference rival in the Purdue Boilermakers. So that means for Indiana, I got 9-3. Hey, it's still going to be a pretty solid season. Is it college football playoff good? Probably not, right? Probably not. Just given the way that a lot of other teams in the nation I've predicted at least are going to be this season, 9-3 might not get you back to the college football playoff. But the schedule did get a lot harder, a lot harder. Last year, Ohio State was really their only test. Now you got Illinois, to Iowa, to Oregon, to Penn State, even Michigan State, Wisconsin at home can give you some fights. The schedule got tougher, and I think you're going to see that in the overall record for Indiana last year. So even though it's a step back, still a pretty good season for Curt Cignetti and company. Let me know what you think about the Indiana Hoosiers in the comment section down below. Remember to play hard but tailgate harder. We'll be back with another prediction later today. Goodbye.